The week of June 6th offers a symbolic mapping of our internal psychological terrain. We are looking at the specific ways our internal landscape shifts over the next 7 days. Throughout the week, shifting moods and sudden behavioral loops can feel entirely random. Without a structure to interpret these internal highs and lows, our experience often resembles a chaotic sequence of emotional events. Within this system, we visualize the cosmic shell as the boundary of personal experience. It contains a celestial symbolic geometry that organizes these internal rhythms. This week brings a precise architectural pattern of tension and harmony into this personal sphere. This arrangement of planetary angles serves as an archetypal operating system for our behavioral tendencies. Decoding this celestial geometry changes our relationship with these shifts. We become observers of our own psychological patterns rather than passengers to the emotional weather. This week's dominant energies are defined by friction, specifically the square, a 90-degree angle, and the opposition, a 180-degree alignment. These are the mechanics of internal pressure. A square aspect manifests as a sense of restriction or irritation. It creates a psychological squeeze, forcing us to choose between two competing internal polarities. This geometric pressure necessitates a psychological confrontation, demanding a behavioral shift we would otherwise avoid. Ancient astrological systems used these mappings to visualize compounding pressures on human behavior. The overlapping interlocking circles in this manuscript illustrate mental recursion, representing the friction generated when different internal cycles cross paths, forcing a moment of reevaluation. Identifying these friction points allows us to anticipate internal stress. We can use the tension to restructure how we react to challenges, rather than allowing the pressure to dictate our choices. Underneath the slow-moving architectural tension is the fluid, rapid cycle of the moon, dictating the baseline for our immediate emotional reactions. As the moon crosses different elemental boundaries, fire, earth, air, and water, it updates our behavioral grammar. Each element changes the tone of how we process daily information. Historical maps encoded these elements into mythic archetypes. Moving from a fire to an earth archetype represented a shift in the internal state, requiring a conscious pivot away from reactive passion toward grounded internal patience. These daily lunar shifts serve as triggers for the deeper planetary friction mentioned earlier. They provide the specific timing for when those larger tensions might surface. Tracking this elemental grammar provides a moment of pause. It allows us to label a reaction as it happens, creating space to think before an emotion solidifies into a choice. Not every alignment this week is defined by friction. We also have harmonic resolutions, specifically the trine, a 120-degree relationship between planetary bodies. The geometry of a trine supports emotional integration, identifying a pathway where different parts of our psychology communicate without conflict. Energy flows perspective on persistent issues. This week's lunar trine to Venus moves through the domains of personal communication and self-image. These are the areas where the week's pressure finds its most effective release valve. These moments of harmony require active participation. While a trine provides an open current for resolution, we must actively step into that flow to apply the clarity to our actions. Viewed together, the restrictive squares and the flowing trines form a single interconnected system. They are the breathing rhythms of the internal self. These alignments are continuous cycles, contained entirely within the enclosed cosmology of the cosmic shell. The outer rings of the map represent the larger structural tensions of the week, while the inner rings track our daily emotional shifts. All of them move in synchronization. To navigate the week ahead, lean into the square's friction for self-reflection, and use the moon's elemental shifts to slow your reactions. When the trine appears, utilize that window for integration. Maintaining awareness of these internal shifts turns the technical geometry of the week into a practical tool for psychological self-regulation.